Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today I've got a cheap clone fragrance review for you guys from the house of Rayhaan. Don't know why I did it that way. It's very overly dramatic. Rayhaan. I've talked about this house before with these fragrances right here. I bought these three a while back, did reviews on them, and they were okay, but they didn't necessarily blow me away. Fresh Wave, Ocean Rush, and Pacific. And I've not checked out anything by the brand since then, until now. The other day I was shopping on JOMASHOP for a bunch of different things, and I figured, let's try out Rayhaan again. And I added 3 different fragrances from the house to my cart, and one of those is this one, Corium, which is part of their leather collection that cost me a whole $23. So you could say this is more on the affordable side of things. A whole 23 bucks, kind of a random number, but whatever. And by the way, guys, it could cost even less if you use my codes through the JOMASHOP app. There are also all these other codes as well that you can use to save money, and this fragrance is also available for sale at Beauty House, where you can use the code GENTS. So, gotta be honest, wasn't expecting a whole heck of a lot based off of my experience with the first 3 that I smelled from the house, but I saw that this is supposed to be a clone of Stronger With You Leather, which is a designer fragrance that is absolutely fantastic. Great performance, big compliment puller, helps you stand out in fall and winter time. And it is what it says, it's Stronger With You with leather added in. I know, the name is super original, but it kind of intrigued me because I do have a soft spot for clone fragrances of designer fragrances that are a little bit more difficult to find, a little bit more expensive, and that's definitely what this is. In the US at least, Stronger With You leather has been getting harder and harder to find. And as of when I'm shooting this video, who knows in the future, but as of when I'm shooting this video, you can't find this on Fragrance Buy, on JOMASHOP, or Fragrance Net. It is available on Amazon, if you trust Amazon, for 130 bucks, and some people on eBay are asking upwards of 280 for this right now. I'm not saying you should pay that, and I'm not saying anybody is paying that, but that's what they're asking. So if Rayhaan were to successfully pull off a clone of this for under 25 bucks, that would be something worth checking out, which is why I checked it out. Let's go ahead and kick things off by taking a look at the presentation, and you can find this linked in the description below. First up, we have the box. On the front, you have the name of the fragrance, name of the house, and size and concentration. It's an eau de parfum 100 ml size. As I said before, it's part of their leather collection. On top of the box, you have the name of the house, a little bit of Arabic on one side of the box. Not really anything on the back other than where you can see the name Rayhaan up at the top. Then on the bottom, you have your ingredient information, your badge code, your expiration date, all of that info. And here we have the bottle. It has a faux leather wrap around it. On the front, you have the name of the house, name of the fragrance, and the concentration. On the back, you have that Rayhaan calligraphy. On top of the cap, you have the name of the house. And on the bottom, you have the badge code printed, and you can see through the bottle if you take a look at the bottom or top. The cap slides into place, does not click into place. Let's go ahead, share a couple sprays. Here we go. Pretty good atomizer. And we'll do a couple of Stronger With You leather also. There we go. Okay, first thing to talk about in terms of the smell. Is Corium a good alternative to Stronger With You leather? Is it a clone fragrance that actually pulls off the cloning? Yes. Yeah, this is actually, to me, way higher quality than the other 3 Rayhaan fragrances that I've smelled so far, the other 3 that I've talked about. This one is multiple steps above. It's actually not even close to me in terms of the quality that you get here for that sub $25 price point. It successfully captures what Stronger With You leather does. It smells great from the opening into the dry down, but does it smell the exact same as Stronger With You leather? No. And the biggest difference, as is often the case with clone fragrances, is in the opening. When you first spray these on, they are noticeably different. So let's go ahead and also spray on skin really quickly so we can kind of talk through that. I'm smelling pretty strong right now. I'm smelling pretty rank in a good way. Actually, I don't even know if you can smell rank in a good way. Okay, so the first difference that you're gonna pick up right away is that Corium has more of an animalic facet to it. When you first spray this one on, you can pick up a little bit of an oudiness in there, and it's more pronounced in Corium versus Stronger With You leather. So Stronger With You leather opens up with that warm chestnut, you know, a little bit edible, sweet, cozy, sexy, and the leather is underneath. You get more of that Stronger With You DNA in the opening right off the top. And Corium has that, but the chestnut is dialed down a bit. It's not as prominent in Corium, and that oud is actually bumped up a bit. And that's where you're gonna get some of that animalic vibe that comes out here. So I would say Corium is actually a little bit darker, bolder even, a little more in your face initially when you first spray that one on, and it's noticeably different. Assuming that you have Stronger With You leather side by side, where you can kind of, you know, go back and forth and do that whole thing. In the air, it does smell more similar, but as I've said a couple of times, it does have a little touch of funk to it compared to Stronger With You leather. Now, as it dries down, that fades away. So that doesn't stick around the whole time in Corium. You may think because it has a bit of that oudiness in it, it does smell more like oud. It's not as much of that, like, you know, overly westernized oud where you say it's just kind of like a nice little dark spicy woodiness. No, it's got like a touch of funk to it. But anyway, you would think that it's gonna stick around for a long time, but it actually doesn't. It's really just there in the opening, which is interesting because oud is officially, as it should be, a base note in the fragrance. But yeah, you get a little bit of that in the opening, but it goes away pretty quickly, so don't worry about it. And as these head into the mid, they get much closer together. Still maybe not quite as much of that chestnut coming across in Corium, which also makes it slightly less powdery than Stronger With You leather. Not that Stronger With You leather is a powdery fragrance, it's not, but there's a touch of that there, and you get a little less in Corium. You get a little more of like a higher tinged vanilla in Corium versus Stronger With You leather, but through the mid into the dry down, they're so close together that you're really splitting hairs if you start trying to talk about the differences between the two, and in the air, essentially the same. So those are the differences, though again, really that's splitting hairs, and in the air, especially from the mid into the dry down, they're almost indistinguishable for most people. If you boil it down very simply, in the opening, Corium is going to be a little more animalic. You're gonna have more chestnut, more of that cozy warmth and Stronger With You leather. And then as it dries down, you get a little more of a noticeable higher tinged vanilla in the Corium, and maybe a touch more leather, and that's going to be taking the place of that chestnut that's here in Stronger With You leather. So take the leather, bump it up slightly here, take the chestnut, dial it down slightly, that kind of thing going on. And in terms of performance, Corium is just as good as Stronger With You leather. It's got the projection, it's got the longevity, it cuts through the cold. So this is not one of those circumstances where you have a clone that smells good, it smells similar, but then it peters out as far as the performance goes. That being said, obviously you would use this the same time, the same places that you would use Stronger With You leather. So for most people, it's gonna be a fall, wintertime fragrance, better suited for night use, be a good date night fragrance or evening out fragrance in general. So Rayhaan Corium has kind of changed my viewpoint a little bit on Rayhaan. I'm still gonna have to check out more of their fragrances, see how they do, but this is more to my taste, and in my opinion, higher quality, better performance, just overall a better buy than the other three that I tried. Because at times, depending on which one we're talking about, those ones sometimes were a little cheap, didn't quite have that quality coming across, performance was more middling, but this one ticks all the boxes, and it's a better buy, in my opinion, because those other ones were clones of fragrances that you could get for not that much money, so it's kind of like, who cares, right? If something smells really similar to Versace Pour Homme, that's great, but Versace Pour Homme is pretty cheap. This is not cheap, and this is hard to find. So a $25 or $23 clone makes a lot more sense to me. So that is Rayhaan Corium. This is the only one from the leather collection that I have smelled, so I don't know how the other ones are. I can't speak to those. Like I said, I bought a couple other ones, Imperia and Imperia Intense. So there we go, guys. Rayhaan Corium leather collection for 23 bucks. Honestly, it's a steal. It's really similar to this. And even though there's that difference in the opening, that bit of a funk to it, to me, it's actually kind of interesting. I'm not saying it's more pleasant than Stronger With You leather in the opening, but it is more interesting maybe, but it only lasts like 5 minutes. After that, in the air, it is a stone cold stunner, compliment puller, versatile during fall and winter, great performance. There's not much more you could ask for this price point, honestly, because it's pretty hard to get cheaper. I think that if you really looked, you could probably even find it for like a couple bucks less than what I paid, you know, a whole $21, you know. Thank you guys for hanging with me. If you know any of the other Rayhaans that I should check out, let me know, because I'm not extremely well versed in the world of Rayhaan. I've only smelled this one, the first 3 that I bought, and then Imperia and Imperia Intense, which are the other 2 that I bought along with this one. And maybe I'll review those in the future as well, but this one stuck out to me the most in side-by-side wearing. So I was like, this stuff is actually pretty freaking good. Thank you guys for hanging with me once again. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.